the services provided by the network and across the systems, such as the Windows system, Linux system, Mac system. Okay, and actually I would say most of the information in this chapter you already know. Okay, you already know that we have services, because these actually infrastructures of services already exist in the organizations we have in the university, for example, in your working place. So in general, in a LAN network, you can see many types of service. We mean by a service is that some application running on a device and provide a service that users can benefit from it, such as the file server, printer server, a specific application server, okay, network support services. All of these are considered in the network. And when we are talking about server, we need to make a consideration on the user access, the traffic patterns, I mean the bandwidth, how many users is the server is able to scale well or not. I mean how many users can this server serve without the service being degraded in terms of speed or quality. So all of us know that file servers, they actually help to make the files available for everyone through the network. And we have the printer servers, in which they make a shared printer. They make the access to the shared printer. And we have also the most known service available is the web service, similar to the services we have now in the university, like the Blackboard, like the other systems, system of registration, system of human resources, systems of employees. All of these systems actually are based on the basically relational database and a web server. So servers that support public access are sometimes deployed outside the LAN or an isolated perimeter network. Most server applications are resource intensive and often have special security and access requirements. Also, in the category of servers, we have the network services that would include all the activities related to the control and management of network servers, like the servers for authentication and authorization, like the Kerberos, for example. It's a server, but it's used for authentication for only one single providing of a username and password. Then you find yourself logged in many systems. This operation is called authentication, and authorization is about the access control when you get inside the server services. They are the remote access servers also. They lie in the category of network services. Also network support servers like the NAT and DHCP. We can have a DHCP server. So all of these services, they can exist in actually a number of operating systems. When you go through the chapter, you'll find details on how you can explore and navigate the service. For example, these services can be run on Microsoft Windows, or Apple Macintosh, or Linux. Linux and Unix, they are all the same because they are based on the same shell, on the base core. So for Windows, you know there are versions of the Windows Server. Windows Server is one of the versions that is used to provide the versions of network services. It's easy because it came with all tools to provide the server ability to the machine. So here we are talking about many services that you can find in the Windows Server. They are already exist there, so you can just configure them and use them immediately. Important thing is the interoperability. The interoperability concept is very required here, because it means that how many applications from different vendors can work in the same environment. This is very important for the server, because the server should provide services. There are many applications should be running in one server sometimes. So this application, one can be made of Oracle, for example, product. One can be made of Microsoft products. So all of them actually, they should work together to provide the access in a coordinated way and in a unified way. Okay? So as I said, there are many operating systems. Chapter explains these operating systems in the first place, and then the type of services included. For example, the Apple Macintosh, it came into releases. The first release, the second, given names to it, and it comes with concepts like the Kerberos, the Apple Open Directory, and Active, which is another name for the Active Directory. Services like the Apple Share, Apache Web Server, and there are also the services related to Unix. Unix is the well known for its open source operating system that has many distribution. A version in Unix, we call it a distribution, and this distribution, sometimes they are basically they are free, but sometimes there are commercial distributions such as Red Hat, or in which there will be a company supports the distribution and charge for the services provided. But in originally, the system is open source. And the concept, one of the concepts important in this chapter is the virtualization. So virtualization means to use the software simulate the existence of hardware, and each simulated computer is called a virtual machine and requires an operating system to do productive work. Of course, the benefit of virtualization is to reduce hardware and injury cost of from the business side, as well the ability to quickly recover from hardware failures and disasters. So you can see this virtualization happens usually in the hosting of websites, in which there will be many subscribers to the hosting services, rather than having a complete machine for each hosting service. You can have a strong server and apply virtualization on it, in which you build machines on the top of machines. These machines will be not real, but it act like a real server. Okay, so that was the general summary of this chapter. Is on network servers and services fundamental, and there is nothing actually to say more on it. It's actually a self-explaining chapter, but let's go now, because in the next last week we didn't have our review question on the very important chapter, which is about the IB, TCP IB. So on the TCP IB we didn't have our review questions. Let's have them now. So I'm just loading the, yeah, okay. So we are going to solve these questions together related to the previous chapter about TCP IB. So here is the first question. Before this, let's go to these true and false questions. The first question is about the Internet Protocol. Only job is to route data to its destination. Is this true or not? What is the job of the Internet Protocol, basically, and in the big picture? What I can say about the Internet Protocol? Is this true or false? Is the Internet Protocol job is to route data to destination? You know, routing is the process of directing the data through many routes. So actually, this is the only job of the Internet Protocol, actually. This is the only job. Like, it has the algorithms, it has the implementation which will guide the data packets from the source to the destination, which is a big process called routing. So routing means finding the best way for the data to go from the source to the destination. So this one is true. Okay, this one is true. We move to the next question. In IB version 4 address, the default number of bits used to identify the network and host vary according to the network class of the address. Is this true? Yes, of course, because we have classes. You know, we have class A, class B, class C. The number of bits that identify the network portion of the address vary according to the classes. Starting from class A, we have 8, and then we go to have 16, and then class C 24. So this is also a true statement. Let's move to the third one. She's asking about class C. All possible class C networks are in use and there are no more available. Is this a statement true or not? Yeah, this is false. Yeah, this is false because class C is usable. Class A, B, C, these are the usable classes. The other classes are not actually available for the one is for multicast and the other for experimenting. It's not available. You will not find an IB address in the internet with those unused IB addresses. Okay, another question. A primary DNS server is authoritative for the zone for which it carries the zone file. This question is about the DNS server. What is a DNS server? A DNS server is the server that provides the translation of names to it's found in the internet. Like when you go, for example, to www.google.com, then This google.com needs to be translated into the IP address of the Google server. Okay, because we are accessing now a web server. A website actually is not is actually a web server on the internet that you can access. So this is true. Each zone has a file. In the DNS, there are zones in which it's like a hierarchical structure with a tree-like, in which, for example, you have .com in this hierarchy. Inside it, there are, for example, .sa, okay, or .uk, or whatever. Okay, so you can have also inside this DNS. So how they work? Actually, they work iteratively, in which the data is communicated. The data is communicated for each level until we get the resolution of the name. Resolution of the name means the translation of the name to the IP address. Question 5 about the commands. So there were commands we have mentioned for the TCP/IP troubleshooting the network, like ipconfig, trace, ifconfig, which is for Linux servers. So is there a command named dig? Go have a look on these commands and do them within your network. They are useful commands in dealing with the network. So there is no command called dig actually. So this is false. Okay. So let's move to the set of multiple choice questions, in which this question is about the IP address, IP version 4. So in IP version 4 there are 4 octets in this way. 4 numbers, we call each number octet because it has 8 bits. It's a byte with 8 bits, so it's an octet. So these octets have a value from 0 to which number? To 255. 255. Okay, I get to the previous. This is the previous slide for Ali. You have any question? Okay, so let's move. This is the available range of each of these octets from 0 to 255. We go to another question, which is not technical one. It's about the terminologies. So we have mentioned a name of an association or an organization that takes care of registering and maintaining the IP addresses across the world. Which company is this? It is not IEEE. It's not ISO also. Something specific to the IP addressing on the internet only. It is ICANN. ICANN. Okay. We move to another question. So this is an IP address according to the notations CIDR. CIDR. what class is this network address? It's 24, so it's class C. Okay, because we have 24 bits for the network ID, and the rest are for the host ID. Okay, so if this number was 8, then it is class A. If this number was 16, then it's class B. We go to another question. This is regarding the ports. For TCP/IP, for TCP in particular, you have to associate the IP with a port number, in which the port number will lead you to which service you are using with the machine, because the IP address will give you the address of the machine, but the port will give you the specific service address. So ports are number given to specify which service is being used within the single machine. So the question here is that what is the possible values, or what is the range of values that can be assigned to a port number? And you know that the port number is 16 bits. The IP is 32 bits, IP version 4, but the port has 16 bits available. So it's simple actually. Just evaluate if you have 16 bit, then you have 2 to the 16 options. This value will give you how many numbers you can generate out of 16 bits. So what is the value of this? It's from 0 to 65,535. Okay, so if you evaluate this with the calculator, you get this answer. Okay, we move to another question. This question, you should know actually the default port for the well-known services such as HTTP, HTTPS, which is the secure one, the secure HTTPS, and also like FTP, SMTP in general. So what is the default port for HTTP? It is 80. It is usually 80. So this is the port actually which is used on the browsers, because all the browsers do the exchange of message based on HTTP IP, on the HTTP protocol. So when you get into the browser, type the name of the website you want to visit. Actually, later on, when the IP of the website is known, it is associated with the port number 80 to give you the right traffic. We go to another question. Yeah, these actually are can be but in email you have to specify what do you mean by email, because in email you have the protocol that is used to send the message. It's called SMTP, and you have the protocol to receive the message. There is a POP3 or IMAP. So there are many protocols actually. So here is a question about what or which of the following is not a host name resolution method. All of these are host name resolution methods except one, host name. No, it's C. It's actually C. Because we are talking about host name. It means like, for example, Ahmed PC. Ahmed PC is the host name. So what is the relation of DHCP with the names like this? DHCP work is to actually to assign your machine an IP address automatically rather than supplied by the network administrator. If you have the DHCP active in your network, then automatically whenever there is a new node in the network, it's going to be assigned the address without intervention from the network manager. So the right answer is C. DNS is used. WINS is also used for the host name resolution, and host files, which you get into the operating system files, you find this file which gives names translation sometimes. So let's move to another question. This question is about the private addresses. So they come in range. There are range, non-range for the private addresses. Which one here is considered as a private address? All these addresses that begin with 192, they are considered as private addresses. What is the meaning of a private address? It means that this address cannot be used in the internet. It can be used within the network only, internally within the network. So that's why you see, for example, in your home network, you will be assigned an IP like this, 192.168.1.1. For example, this will be the address of the access point. When you get when another machine gets into, it will be assigned 2, 3, or 100, 101, 102. So this is used inside LANs, inside the local networks. Okay? Actually, the other options are not, because this is, for example, the local host. The local host 127.0.0.1. It's not a private. There also these options are not. Okay, so we should know what range is made for the private addresses, because such questions can come. Here is a question about the naming and DNS in general. So which of the following is the largest domain? Which of the following is the largest domain here? It is actually COM. You know, this is known actually, because most of the, if you take it logically, most of the websites here, or you know, most of them end with the COM. So this is the largest domain available in terms of how many registered websites are there. Okay, so this was a review question for the previous chapter. For the chapter of this week, it's actually simple chapter, and we might have its question session along with the next week. Okay, so now we have reached the end of our virtual class, and do you have any questions, comments you want to ask or anything? Okay, so that's the end. Thanks for attending. See you inshallah next week. Salam.
Recording stopped.